Hi, I'm Matt Vogt, Solutions Architect for Simplivity, and we are going to show a demo of the new OmniStack 3.0 web client integration, the data virtualization platform, and vSphere thick client integration. So what we have here, very familiar with the web client, this is vSphere 6.0. This is a full management screen now of our Boston data center, showing our data efficiency. So we can see here we've got 1.76 petabytes of data from a virtual machine, local backup, and remote backup perspective. But because of that inline deduplication compression optimization, I'm actually able to get that down to 43.3 terabytes on disk usage. That is all I/O avoidance and capacity savings. So if we come into our related objects to actually do some operations on a virtual machine, I can see all my VMs here. If I right-click on a VM, again, what you're going to see is full integration to the vSphere client. So all of our operations are standard vSphere tasks down here at the bottom. So I can clone a virtual machine. All I have to do is give it a name. I'm going to give it a name 000, hit enter. And what you're going to see at the bottom of the screen is a standard vSphere task. Again, full integration into the vSphere client, because the idea is to never have to have you switch tasks to monitor your entire environment. We want you to stay within vSphere. Once we hit 33% on our task completion, we're actually done with our processing on the back end, and we're just waiting for vSphere to catch up. Because all I'm needed to do to create a clone or a backup is, because I have all the blocks down on disk, and I've done that upfront deduplication and compression and never post-process it, I just need to create more metadata to point to the blocks that I already own. So you can see that my backup completed in about 20 seconds, or my clone did, and that is a 500 gig, well, 483 gigs on disk virtual machine. It's not a very small VM, but we did that operation in about 20 seconds. Now if I refresh my list, you can see my new virtual machine here up top. I can right-click that virtual machine, and now if I want to protect that VM either locally or across sites, again, standard Simplivity tasks built natively into the files or into the management tool of the vSphere web client. And we're just going to take a backup. And now I get to just choose the destination for my backup. It can either be a local backup or any data center in my environment across 32 locations. So again, this is now getting to that single screen of management for all locations. I can choose to send it to one or two different sites if I choose. And what we're doing here, again, is a standard vSphere task. Anytime I send data between one location and another, I'm actually going to do a real-time comparison of my deduplication tables. So I'm only sending absolute unique blocks across the wire, and that again is because I'm doing inline deduplication and compression across the entire data lifecycle for all virtual machines, all workloads, all backups, local and remote. So you can see that this backup is completed, and that backup took about 5 seconds to send a full backup of a 483 gig virtual machine of a brand new clone of a 483 gig virtual machine. And again, that's the power of the data virtualization platform spanning across all Federation sites and data centers. So if actually now I come into if I go into the monitor tab, so actually look at the overall data efficiency, we'll see that the data stored has climbed because I've created more data. I've generated a new virtual machine and a new backup, so about a terabyte more of data. But you can see my use capacity hasn't gone up at all. I've avoided all of those IOPS that are typically generated by creating clones and by creating backups. So now if I go into that virtual machine itself, I can see if Boston fell into the ocean, what I can do, I'll double click, is I can restore that virtual machine because I have sent that backup offsite to London just in case a disaster strikes. And if a disaster did strike, like I did today, Boston is gone, I can come in and restore that virtual machine, and I can choose to restore that virtual machine to any of my locations. I don't have to restore the virtual machine to the data center that either it was backed up from or it originated from. I can send it to any location. But I am going to choose to restore to London because Boston is underwater and so is my data center. So again, we can down here see all our tasks, standard vSphere task switching. So everything I've done as a manual process. But manual processes are prone to human error and typing and fat fingering and all that good stuff. So I want to come in here and actually look at my backup policies because I want to be able to do this on a policy by policy basis to avoid all that human error. So I come in here to my backup policies, I can edit a policy, and all I'm doing here are setting my SLAs on a per VM basis. All I need to do is say, where am I sending my backup? How long or how often am I taking backups, and how long am I keeping those backups around for? So my data retention policies, all set on a per VM basis. Not at a data store basis, not at a protection group or a RAID group or anything else like that. It's all per VM. Now, if I want to show some integration into the vSphere Thick client, the C# client, that's coming into the web client very shortly, that is brand new to the OmniStack 3.0 data virtualization platform. So there's that clone that I took. Again, we integrate into both interfaces, so there's the Simplivity tab. So here's that backup that I took. Now, if a user deletes a file or corrupts a file, I can actually come in here, right-click the backup, and restore an individual file. I don't have to restore the entire workload just to get a single file back. So what I'm going to go through is, again, it's just a wizard-based tool that I come in, I mount the VMDK, I know that it's an NTFS file system, so I can go ahead and look at that file system, and I can find the files or folders that I need to do a restore. So I come in, I see there's the directory that I need to restore files from. I'm just going to choose the entire directory and add it to my list of directories to restore. I hit next, and now I can choose any virtual machine I want to restore these files to. I don't have to choose the original virtual machine. Now if I click next, I get a little summary of what's going to happen, and if I click finish, I'm actually going to present a DVD ISO image to the virtual machine to allow the end user to restore the files any way they choose. And so that is a quick tour of the OmniStack 3.0 data virtualization platform.